We have had a big brain drain in the federal government since day one, especially as Trump and his allies, they don't always say nice things about federal workers. They think they're lazy and that some of them are lazy and that they should kind of get with the program and leave the administration if they don't agree with Trump on major policy.
Officials in Texas face a growing number of questions about their response to the devastating floods that have killed at least 120 people. About 150 people are still missing. This was the response of the Texas Governor Greg Abbott when he was asked who is to blame for such a high death toll.
You ask, and I'm going to use your words, who's to blame? Know this. That's the word choice of losers. Let me explain one thing about Texas, and that is Texas, every square inch of our state cares about football. You could be in Hunt, Texas, Huntsville, Texas, Houston, Texas, any size community, they care about football. High school, Friday night lights, college football, or pro. And know this, every football team makes mistakes. The losing teams are the ones that try to point out who's to blame. The championship teams are the ones that say, don't worry about it, man, we got this. We're going to make sure that we go score again, that we're going to win this game. The way winners talk is not to point fingers. They talk about solutions.
Well, it's quite some analogy, isn't it? What the disaster has definitely done, though, is to shine a spotlight on the state of America's institutions, and people will always look to find someone who has held responsibility. The National Weather Service still managed to issue warnings, but has faced very heavy cuts, like much of the rest of the machinery of American government. As the Trump administration nears its 200th day, we're asking, what state is America really in? Let's talk to Daniel Lippman, Politico's Washington and White House reporter. Daniel, if we start with what's happened in Texas, it is just a simple truth that cuts have been made to the National Weather Service, to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. In fact, there more than a third of FEMA's workforce has been fired or taken the redundancy that's offered. So actually, is it fair to ask this question about perhaps being left with a situation where bodies that could have coped before are no longer able to cope?
No, it's a totally fair question, and one that many Americans have wondered if the federal government is being downsized in a way that doesn't serve the American public because of Elon Musk and even Donald Trump. He said at a cabinet meeting a few days ago that perhaps DOGE went too far, and that there were questions about that he may not have done every cut that Elon Musk did, and the two are at loggerheads now. And so with what happened in Texas, I think it's, that situation was probably not because of the cuts, because they've had long-term issues for the last 8 years where the state and local governments did not properly invest in communication technology so that people could get those warnings. But writ large in America, that's a real question that Democrats and even some Republicans are saying, are we cutting too much of the government? And even in a way that doesn't even actually doesn't actually get to the debt and the deficits, because it's often on the edges.
Sure. And I suppose, Daniel, it's just true, isn't it, that there is a natural political reflex that comes after a disaster like the one that Texas has suffered, which is to say, we will give you more, we will try and do more for you, not less or just the same. And that is a very understandable reaction. So if that doesn't happen this time around, what would that say?
I think that is happening this time around. And I think that there are a lot of Americans who don't feel in touch with their government and they don't like the bureaucracy. And so that's one reason that Elon Musk had some allies among people across the country who thought, hey, why are we spending on foreign aid? How does that help me? And so soft power, that is hard to translate if you have lost your job in a coal mine or in a factory, or it's making it hard for you to make ends meet. And so with what happened in Texas, people are really looking at the National Weather Service, that there were hundreds of people cut from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, where there was, I think, 1,500, 1,600 people who were cut as well. There's 4,000 vacancies. And so we have had a big brain drain in the federal government since day one, especially as Trump and his allies, they don't always say nice things about federal workers. They think they're lazy and that some of them are lazy and that they should kind of get with the program and leave the administration if they don't agree with Trump on major policies.
Sure. So do you think that actually there may well have to be a change of direction? I mean, we're only just entering hurricane season, aren't we? And were there to be another couple of events of this magnitude, like the floods of Texas, that people would make that link very closely and actually Trump would lose some of his very loyal support?
Well, it's very hard because his hardcore supporters, they don't go anywhere. So they are kind of with him until the end. But some of those independent and moderate voters who cast their ballots for Trump last time around, they are the swing voters, and Democrats are really trying to woo them back for the midterm elections. And so they're going to be making the case that Trump has not really properly utilized the government in terms of reforms to make it work better, but that services have been degraded. But I do think that because of these multi-billion-dollar damage storms, that we have seen a huge surge in the last few years, especially, that they're going to be examining the National Weather Service and make sure they're properly staffed. They're going to make sure that FEMA can do their job after these storms to clean up. That they're not going to just get rid of FEMA. And so I think there is political pressure, especially when a disaster hits a red state like Texas, that they do adequately respond and don't leave Americans in the dust.
You mentioned that conflict between Donald Trump and Elon Musk and perhaps a row back on the enthusiasm over the number of people that DOGE released back into the wilds of redundancy. But does that mean that Donald Trump might actually seek to reverse some of those decisions, do you think?
I don't think he would reverse a lot of these decisions, but when Elon Musk was in the government, since he was basically as powerful as J.D. Vance, cabinet members who have control of their agencies, they would fear getting in rows with Elon Musk. And there was cabinet meetings when there was blow-ups between Musk and cabinet members over turf. They had some turf battles. But with Musk out of there, then these cabinet members, they have good control of their agencies, and they don't want to lose power themselves. We've already seen at the Department of Veterans Affairs, they were going to lay off, I believe, 83,000 people, and that has been way reduced. And so because there was a lot of veterans groups and members of both parties on the Hill who said, hey, these are services and programs and doctors and nurses that are helping people who served our country. We can't let them down, and you can't get rid of hospitals and have such sharp staffing reductions. So we've just seen how what Musk set out to do with DOGE. DOGE is kind of a shell of itself now, and they did have a lot of impact in the first few months, but there's going to be a rebuilding effort
right.
for a long time.
They're going to have to become more efficient themselves, ironically, aren't they, Daniel? There have been court challenges to some of the redundancies and firings, haven't they? And actually, when we first talked about this several months ago, the litigious nature of America just really shone as being a strange kind of hurdle that Donald Trump didn't seem to think he was going to have to leap over. Have people been successful in challenging his decisions through the courts?
Somewhat. That remember with that guy they sent to El Salvador, Garcia, he, after a court said he should not have been sent there, and the Trump administration said it was an administrative error, he was brought back eventually, and then he'll probably get deported again to a third country, but because he's an illegal immigrant. But a lot of times these courts are kind of too late, where if you've gotten rid of USAID and a court says it was done illegally, the court can't order them to just rebuild it and hire back thousands of people. And so the Supreme Court actually gave Trump a big win a few days ago when it said you're allowed to lay off a lot of federal government employees. And so we'll see how many of them actually get laid off. But there's a lot of fear among federal workers that they will be that those cutbacks will be implemented very soon. And if you look at the housing market in the DC area, it's soft a little bit because not a lot of people are moving to DC to work as federal government employees, and the economy has been hurt in this area because of people. If often federal government workers, they're married to each other, so if they both get laid off, they often may move to a lower cost area of the country to afford their standard of living.
Sure, interesting detail. Thank you very much indeed. That's Daniel Lippman, who is Politico's Washington and White House reporter. Lisa says, good afternoon both. I don't think those hardcore MAGA voters are going anywhere. No matter what happens, they're so heavily invested in the cult of DJT that to lose faith would almost feel worse than continuing to believe that he will improve their lives, even though he probably won't deliver for them. I think there's probably much truth in that. You also have to be able to give permission for people to be able to say they were wrong, and that's an incredibly difficult thing to work out in modern politics.